Yeah. You look, I know what I'm doing. In case anybody pops on. There you go. Say we're on page 47 of the Mrea book. At the top there, this is, I think everybody's heard this one. Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. And that's Henry Ford. And so going along with Lemonade Life, I think they talked a little bit about that in there as well, in what your mindset is. And again, the first part of this book, Mrea book, and this is where I think if you need to revisit it, the first half in particular, revisit it over and over again, because it is mindset. And same thing, even with like the shift book. The first part of the book is going to be about mindset. The first few pages in particular is a review. And Gary always felt that, you know, we have to have the right mindset in order for us to go out and be able to do the work. And so in this case here, we're going to talk about some misunderstandings between you and high achievement. One of the things he says there in one of that first paragraphs there is that fears are educated into us and can, if we wish, be educated out. You know, so one of the big fears that I think a lot of us has is called reluctance, right? And the reason why we have that is, of course, when we were growing up and the phone would ring around supper time or dinner time, and, you know, our parents would answer the phone, it would be a, you know, somebody that was cold calling, basically. What would they do? How would they treat those people? They'd hang up on them, right? Or what do you want to meet? It's dinner time. Don't you know it's dinner time? You know, and they would kind of holler at them, right? So that's the experience we had with people that made calls trying to do business. So now we've got in our mind that that's how people are going to treat us, correct? And so we're afraid that people are going to holler at us, they're going to cuss at us, they're going to swear at us, or whatever it is. But the fact of the matter is that they're not. There's going to be a few people out there that are, but we have to remember that it's not about us personally, right? That's just a reaction that those folks have. So he goes on to say here, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent models we reveal in this book embody basic principles that we believe are fundamental to real estate sales success at a high level. He goes on, I'm skipping here a little bit. He says, I believe you need to examine some of your core beliefs about success, how real or unreal they truly are, and how they may impact your chance for success. At best, your beliefs can lead to great confidence, and at worst, they can lead to extreme doubt. If I've learned anything, it's that if allowed to exist, doubts can truly undermine your confidence, your actions, and ultimately your dreams. I think we've all seen that firsthand. We've probably experienced it firsthand too. Would you agree?
Yeah.
So that's where we got to eliminate the doubts. The other thing that he talked about here too, and that marker ain't working. Try to
Put it back.
Yeah, I'll let somebody else work with it. And this one here comes from, I'm trying to think of the habits book in particular. But the fact of the matter is that we think that this is how success should be, right? And this is time, and this is success over here. But what really happens is that we come in at like this level here, we go down, and then we come up, and then we actually will surpass that. This is the valley of despair. Because once we go past what we thought the expectations were, and this down here in particular, when you get down to this level here, this is where everybody quits. That's where they stop. And the thing is that if you got your mind right and you get over these fears that they have, you'll actually outperform anything that you will do. I think one of the quotes is that everybody always overestimates what they can do in the short term and underestimates what they can do in the long term. And so what this is just consistency, right? That's what that is. It's just being consistent. Is that you're going to fail. That's what this is right here. You're going to fail. And I was listening to I know we had the big playoffs this weekend, right, for football. And on some of the podcasts out there, they were interviewing past players, not players that are playing right now. But one of the things I asked those players is when they got in the NFL, what was the thing that you learned? And one of the things this guy said is that on any given day, somebody could basically knock the snot out of you. And like you said, when I was going through high school and college, that didn't happen, because when I got to the pros, it didn't matter who it was. It could have been a cornerback, it could have been a small running back. Everybody's strong. And then the second thing that everybody said is that they're so fast, that everything happens so fast. That's one of the reasons why you see rookies. And this goes back to, for the people that know football, like Peyton Manning example. Peyton Manning was down in here. His first year as a rookie, I think he threw like 24 interceptions or something like that. It was like a record. And the guy's going to now go into the Hall of Fame. But he stuck with it, and then he surpassed expectations. He didn't have the strongest arm in the world. In today's standards, he probably wouldn't even be a first-round draft pick at this point, because they're looking for guys that have a cannon for an arm. He didn't throw a perfect spiral every time. He threw a lot of ducks, but he could get the job done. And that's where his confidence came into play then, is that he just figured that he was smarter than the people across from him. All right, if you turn to page 48. And he talks about the Mark Twain cat, right? He talks a little story there. And so the story goes, we should be careful to get out of the experience all the wisdom that is in it. Not like the cat that sits in a hot stove lid. She will never sit down in a hot lid again, and that is all well. But also she will never sit down on a cold one anymore. I've noticed that, like Mark Twain's cat, we tend to base our actions on what we believe to be true. Unfortunately, what we believe to be true and the truth may actually be a myth. Has that ever happened before? In something that you've heard out there, and then come to find out later on that that's not nowhere near the truth? It was some wives' tale, that we heard somewhere along the line. We all believed in Santa Claus at one time, right?
He's real.
Or the tooth fairy, or any of those things. We all believed that at one time, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was the truth.
Chevy.
What about Chevy?
Or a Chevy.
Or a Chevy. So that's the thing that they're trying to point out here, is that, and the point with the cat, and the idea being that they won't sit on a cold one either, is because once they see it, they just figure that every one of them's hot, right? So that's one of the reasons why they will never sit on a cold one either. And that's what we think about, like cold calling as an example. We assume that everybody who's going to answer the phone on the other end is going to be angry, that they're going to be like our dads. And the fact of the matter is that they're not. We assume that if we go door knocking, that everybody who answers the phone is answer the door is gonna throw something at us, or they're gonna kick us off the porch, because that's what our grandparents did. And the fact of the matter is that's not what's gonna happen. So on page 49, they run down those 6 myths. I can't do it. It can't be done in my market. It would take too much time and effort. I'd lose my freedom. It's too risky. I'll lose money. My clients will only work with me. Only I can deliver quality service. And having a goal and not fully realizing is a negative thing. So the first one there, I can't do it. The truth is, until you try, you can't possibly know what you can or can't do. Taylor, when you first started riding horses, did you believe that you could jump over things with the horse?
Probably not.
Yeah. But over time, right, how did you start out? Jumping over small things?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you start jumping up over two, I don't know what they call those things.
Poles on the ground.
Just poles on the ground.
Yeah.
Basically just get them to step over it.
Yeah.
And then work our way up, right? So that's the same thing here, is that, in the beginning, we don't think we can do it. Think about when you learn to ride a bike. I mean, we all learn how to ride a bike, right? How hard was that?
Hard as crap.
Hard as crap, exactly. I can remember the tears and the frustration and me cursing the Lord because I couldn't ride that bike, right? But the fact of the matter is not only did I learn how to ride it, pretty soon I was jumping over things, and the next thing you know, I had a motorcycle and I was jumping road ditches and things along those lines, things I never should have been doing. And I think about it now, and it's like, man, could I go out and do that at 55, what I was doing when I was like 14? Probably not. I'd have to relearn it all over again, right? So we don't know if we can do it until we get out and try it. And he has a little story there where he ran into an individual. It goes on to say, okay, Gary, do you really think it's realistic to talk to all of us about achieving those levels of success? It doesn't seem very realistic to me. And what he's talking about here is being a millionaire real estate agent. And then Gary said, that's a fair question. Do you mind if I ask you a question before I answer? And the student says, sure. And he says, what's your ultimate potential? And the student said, I'm sorry, I don't follow you. What are your limitations? What are you capable of achieving? What is your ceiling? In other words, do you know what your ultimate potential is? And the student said, I never really thought about it. I guess I have no idea. And so Gary said, that's an honest answer. And I appreciate that. So there's the point. Nobody knows. If you don't know what your ultimate potential is, then how can you possibly judge what is realistic? Honestly, what good does it do us to talk about what is realistic when in the end, we don't even know what we're truly capable of achieving? You think about what real estate agents are doing now in these years. Do you think real estate agents from 30 years ago thought it was even possible? No. You know, you got these teams that are now across the country, right? We got teams out there that are closing 5,000 units in a year. All right, they're closing as many units as what brokerages are closing. One team. So again, that's his point, is that the sky's the limit. But we have to unhinge our brain is what it comes down to, because that's our ceiling. That's our lid. So the question of whether you can or can't do something someday should probably never be considered. So I like that. Why do we even consider it? And that's our financial thermostat a lot of times also. It's telling us that we can't make $1 million, that $1 million isn't attainable in our brain, right? I'd be happy with 60. That's what our brain says. You don't deserve $1 million. That's what our brain says. And so that's what we have to remember, that this thing doesn't control this. We control this. We have to get that thing to shut off then. And we got to tell it that. We don't know. We don't know if I can make $1 million. I haven't tried. Let me go try. See what happens. And again, this is what that old adage, then if you put your mind to it, but you got to put your mind to it in the right way. So in the middle of page 51, I think after he's talking about, he goes in here again, he says, let's just pretend for a second that I actually did believe in the need to be realistic about your potential. Are you telling me that you would willingly return your kids over to me to be taught this doctrine? If you think about it, you have a teacher that told your kids that they couldn't do something, would you be like all over that teacher?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So why are we doing it to ourselves? That's what he's basically saying here. No, really, I'll take your 13 and 16-year-olds and sit them down and say, your mom and dad have hired me to teach you your limitations. You're not going to be all you hoped you could be. You have limits. You don't need to dream big because that is just unrealistic. Now, if that was what I was going to teach your children, are you going to turn me loose with your kids? No. Okay, then take your own advice. If you won't talk to a child that way, why would you talk to yourself that way? You don't need that kind of non-productive self-talk going on in your head. So you're going to think big or think small. And he goes on to say, we want to encourage them. We want to nurture their self-confidence and reward effort over results. And I highlighted reward effort over results because a lot of times we are looking at the results, right? We're looking at how many units did I close? In the end, what you need to reward yourself with is the fact that, you know what? I talked to 20 people today. This week, I talked to 100 people. This week, I went door knocking. This week, I made X amount of calls. Those are the things that we need to reward. We need to reward the activity. Because when you go to the gym, you're not going to see results in the first day. You have to go over and over and over again. And that's the same thing that happens here. And that's what happens in this thing here as well. Is as this goes down, if we keep doing what we're supposed to do, it starts going up and eventually we surpass. And the same thing happens when we go to the gym. The same thing happens when we train with the horse every day. The same thing happens when we ride motorcycle. Whatever it is, we get better at it if we do it every day. Once you try to achieve one thing you thought might be possible, it becomes easier and easier for you to see the impossible and then achieve it. And he goes on to talk about the 4-minute mile, that was the thing that nobody could beat it, right? And then a guy who wasn't even a runner, Bannister, who wasn't even really a runner, he's the one that actually ran the miracle mile. He beat the 4-minute mark. Now, the thing about it is look at how many times that record has been broken since then. All it takes is one guy to break the ceiling, right? Or one person to break the ceiling, and then it makes it possible for everybody else. On page 53, it says real estate agents who succeed at high levels understand how debilitating thinking I can't do it can be. They understand that the very first step to discovering the potential is trying. You can't know what you're really capable of until you try and never give up. In fact, many people have said that they believe that failure is not the worst thing in the world. They believe the very worst thing is not to try at all. It's been observed that many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up. And I've got written down here, The Infinite Game. And that'd be a great book to read as well, because you're playing the infinite game, right? If you're playing the finite game, then yeah, there's an issue. If you're playing the infinite game, then it goes on forever. The second misunderstanding, it can't be done in my market. Yes, it can, but you may need a new approach. There are people out there who are closing 1,500 units in a 15,000 person town. They may be doing things a little bit differently, but in the end, the systems and the models are the same. That may be something, and I think that person in particular, they were doing a lot of events. I think they did a monthly event is what they did. They did one every month. Now that may not be feasible here. You don't need to do one every month. We've got more people that we can get involved with, but do whatever you got to do to get it done. What I want you to realize is that once it has been done, no matter where, it's just a matter of finding out how that can be possible in your world. I know a lot of tremendously talented real estate agents who will achieve far less than they are capable of because they are stuck on a 2 or 3 listings per month business plan. There's that old adage where this coach told the guy to go get 10 signs. Once he had the 10 signs, he said, all right, I'll go find yards for him. Got down to the end of the month, he had 9 listings. He had 1 more to go. Last day of the month, doing everything he can to find one. So what did he do to get the 10th listing? He listed his own house. So he got there, right? Think outside the box. Now, he only listed his house for a day. He didn't actually sell it, but he did have 10 listings. You know, so he met the goal. So what do you got to do to meet the goal? What are you willing to do? And here's a great truth I have personally experienced. The first one to overcome this misunderstanding enjoys a distinct advantage in his own marketplace. If you believe and your competition does not, there's one less obstacle between you and your goals, and it's a big one. So, you know, we've had this little bit of a down market, right? And now we've got a little bit of an uptick here. So now you can either believe that we're out of this shift, or we're out of everything that's going on, or you know what, this is just a little blip. It's just the moment of the market of the moment. And we still have this recession that we have to go through. Because you know what, November and December sure looked like a recession to me. And the January numbers aren't that great, but I know that everybody's been busier in the month of January. So, you know, maybe February and March is going to be a little bit better, but what happens after this? So don't stop doing your lead generation just because we've gotten a little bit of a blip. The third common misunderstanding: it would take too much time and effort. I would lose my freedom. Time and effort are not the deciding factors in success. And this actually comes down to having systems and models, right? A lot of people think that having a system and a model is something that's going to tie them up and it's going to stop them from doing what they need to get done. But the fact of the matter is that everybody here has a system, right? I guarantee every morning when you get up, you do the same thing, don't you? That's your system. And for some of us, we get up, we take a shower, we brush our teeth, right? Others, we get up, we brush our teeth, we take a shower. Others, we get up, we take a shower, we go eat breakfast, then we brush our teeth. Everybody does it a little bit different. But that's your system. And the thing about it is you don't even think about it, right? So that's what they're talking about here too, is that when you get into that system that, you know what, every morning at 9 o'clock, I'm going to lead generate. It gets to the point where you don't even think about it. I'm just gonna get up at 9 o'clock, I'm regenerating. I'll regenerate from 9 to 11, from 11 to 11:30, I'm gonna respond to emails. I'm gonna do those types of things, get back to people, 11:30 to 12. I'm going to, maybe check some new stuff. And then after that, I'm gonna go out on appointments. If I don't have appointments, I regenerate some more. And that's your system. You don't even think about it. He says here on page 55, they truly believe that the more successful you become, the more time and effort you will have to invest and the more freedom you'll lose. They say things like, I'm not willing to make the sacrifices you have to make to have that level of success. That's malarkey. People say that because they're not successful. And they're trying to justify why they're not. They're the crabs in the pot that are trying to pull you back in. Trying to make you feel guilty for being successful. He says later on, people have lived before us, and I believe the highly successful ones have proven this to be a complete and total myth. They understand that you can put in 50-hour work weeks and make $50,000 a year, or you can put in 50-hour work weeks and make $1 million a year. Still others understand that they can put in a 50-hour work week and experience no limits to their income earning potential. It's all the same, right? There's 3 scenarios we put in 50 hours. The first one, most likely you're working for somebody and they're paying you to go to work, right? The second one is that you're probably working for yourself, but you just have put a limit on it. And that third one is what he's been talking about, is that there is no limit. Stop thinking that there is, because that's what we'll go for. That's what we'll try to reach for. That's what we'll attain. Try to see, and at the bottom here of 55, try to see time and effort first as an efficiency and effectiveness issue. Do the best you can with the time you devote to your business. And when that takes you as far as it can, then you have a leverage issue. So what he's saying there is that eventually, if you're really successful, and as an example, if we start doing 36 transactions or over 3 per month, we're gonna have to hire somebody. And then we can take it to the next level, and then we have to hire somebody, and then we gotta take it to the next level, and we have to hire somebody. Until we max that out, you've got time. When time and effort take you as far as they can, then you add leverage to progress to the next level. So he goes on there with those myths and truths. Myth, activity means productivity. No, you can be active without being productive.
You need the last one.
Hey, I'm the king of this. So don't feel bad. I love my 80%, right? And I can write up the best email anybody out there. It can take me an hour and a half to do it. So that way I don't have to make my calls, right? No, I was busy.
Yeah.
Or I'll go do a report of some sort that Grace should probably be doing, so I don't have to go make my phone calls, right? Efficiency equals effectiveness. You can do something very efficiently and still be ineffective. More discipline means less freedom. Discipline translates to effectiveness, which leads to accomplishment, and that creates more freedom, not less. If you read any books out there by any of these top CEOs or millionaires or any of those other things, they talk about discipline all the time. All right. And the difference between like motivation and discipline is this, is that motivation is fleeting. Motivation depends upon how you feel that day. Motivation depends upon how the weather is. Motivation depends upon a bunch of other things, right? Discipline says, I'm doing it no matter what. January 1st is a great date, right? Everybody's going to be in the gym. Everybody's made that commitment to get into the gym.
So crowded. I hate it.
It's still crowded.
Yeah, they're sticking to it.
Well, we're only in our third week. I was just gonna say, we hit February, you gotta start renewing that thing. Then about the middle of February, you start seeing it fall off, right?
They start thinking about Valentine's over all that.
Well, you got the Super Bowl, you got Valentine's, you got all those things right after together, right? But eventually by March in particular, what does the gym look like?
Better.
It's empty. It's back to the same 25 people that were in there before. right? And that's discipline. Discipline is going to the gym every day, no matter what we feel like, no matter how tired we are, no matter what's going on, we find time to go to the gym. The same thing with real estate, right? No matter what happens, I'm doing lead generation. No matter how tired I am, how I feel, how unmotivated I am going to do lead generation. Because just like the gym, as they would say, a bad day in the gym is still better than what? No day in the gym, right? And so the lead generation is the same way. You know, any lead generation is better than no lead generation. That's what it comes down to. Just do it. Justice for all, equal time should mean equal reward. Reward always comes down to who does the best job. Myth, we perform best under pressure. You perform best when you focus, and pressure is a poor means to continually gain focus. I am one of those people. I work, and I even said that once, I work best under pressure. You know, going all the way back to high school when we had to do the big book report, I would wait until the day of or the night of in order to write that paper, right? And the fact of the matter is you can get it done because, like he says, you were focused. So if you're focused every day, imagine if you did that, you had that same focus all the time. I'd have been an A student. Myth, I have time. You have no idea how much time you have, so make every minute count. That we should have learned over the last 2 years. We don't know when our time is up. Plus on top of, we don't know what's going to happen to us. Are we going to get sick or something? We're going to get in an accident. What might it be? So we don't ever say, I'm going to do it tomorrow. Whatever you need to do today, get it done. That last basically big paragraph there in 56, almost every one of the millionaire real estate agents we interviewed for this book understood how to be purposeful, focused, and extremely effective with their time. Then by maintaining their focus on what was important and applying leverage, they earned back their time. We spoke to agents who could work as little as 3 days a week and still have a highly successful business. Others could expect multiple homes to close while they're away on vacation. These agents are living proof that the more successful you become, the more, not less, freedom you enjoy. The fourth common misunderstanding is too risky, I'll lose money. Risk is in direct proportion to how well you hold your incremental costs accountable, producing incremental results. So what they're basically saying here is any dollar you spend that increases your net profits is ultimately a dollar well invested. And if you're going to invest the money, you need to make sure that you're getting something back. You know, they talked about Zillow leads here again recently, where the average KW agent who is buying Zillow leads spends about $14,000 on Zillow leads. They're making 10. Is that a good investment? You think they were tracking their numbers? So that's what he's saying here in that section, is that, and we talked about this in the shift side of things. We talk about this all the time, basically your ROI, right? The ideal thing is the minimum you want to get back is for every dollar you spend, you want to get $4 back. So you got to track it. You got to see where you're at. The fifth common misunderstanding, my clients only will work with me. Only I deliver quality service. The truth is this, your clients aren't loyal to you. They are loyal to the standards you represent. That's a hard one for people to take. And this is going to get when you start looking at leveraging, right? I do it the best. And it's hard to hear that, right? It's hard to hear that. You know what? Clients don't give a rat's ass about you. All they care about is the customer service that you bring. In the middle of page 60 there, it says, whatever services you provided, as specialized as they may be, can be duplicated through the right people, implementing systems to achieve standards you approve. I know Disney has changed here, but before then, we always talk about the Disney experience. At the top of page 61, it says, to work at Disney, employees have to attend Disney University, an intense crash course in their service systems. Employees are taught all the essential facts, memorize park layouts, and introduced how to keep their energy high and attitude right. The Disney philosophy is the front line is the bottom line. They understand that average visitor stays for 2.5 years before taking a journey, which makes for some lofty expectations. The average homeowner waits as much as 4 times as long to make a home purchase. What are their expectations? You know, just heard from an agent today, they were talking to a couple at the grocery store, and the couple was venting because they bought a house that ended up having an HOA when they wanted one that didn't have an HOA. You know, did that agent live up to those expectations? So that's all they're saying, live up to those expectations. You say you're gonna do something, do it. Right? And then if you're gonna hire people, you hire the same type of mindset. And then you do that training like Disney has done here. Sixth common misunderstanding: having a goal and not fully realizing it is a negative thing. Having a goal and not trying to achieve it is a negative thing. And I love this thing right here, starting on page 61. 1832, failed in business, bankruptcy. 1832, defeated for legislature. 1834, failed in business, bankruptcy. 1835, fiance died. 1836, nervous breakdown. 1838, defeated in election. 1843, defeated for Congress. 1848, defeated for U.S. Congress. 1855, defeated for U.S. Senate. 1856, defeated for Vice President. 1858, defeated for U.S. Senate. 1860, elected President of the United States. Mr. Abraham Lincoln, everybody. That's some determination right there. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 major things in his life that went against him. And as he says there, had you stopped there, you'd have missed the final point that he's elected. Down further, he talks about Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison claimed to have failed 1,000 times before successfully designing the light bulb. What if he stopped at 999? Theodore Geisel, Dr. Seuss, Giesel, I guess, was rejected 27 times before finding a publisher. Mark Victor Hansen's Chicken Soup for the Soul was rejected by more than 30 publishers before going on to sell more than 70 million copies worldwide. Henry Ford failed and went broke 5 times. Tom Landry, Chuck Noll, Bill Walsh, and Jimmy Johnson shared the record for having the worst first season records in the NFL history. One of the secrets to great success is to change your perspective on failure. You see, everyone experiences failures before they ultimately succeed. Some let their failure stop them, some keep trying. People like Edison, Ford, and Lincoln chose to view failure as a learning experience, to build on and not as a permanent defeat. It may sound like double talk, but failure is progress. At the very least, in attempting to achieve a dream and failing, you've learned to eliminate that approach the next time you try. Use your failures as stepping stones. The next time you try something, bear in mind that history has made it very clear that you will probably have to fail a few times before you get it right. That's this again, right? As a matter of fact, there's another one out there, and I don't remember what book it was in, but again, it was one of these things where this is really what our expectation is. And the fact of the matter is, we start down here and then even go lower than that. And again, we'll surpass that line eventually. So how many of you look at failure as progress? Shake your head, yes. What's been your greatest failure?
That's a good question. I don't know. I would have to take time to think about that.
What have you failed at recently?
Where do I start? I missed 2 days of the gym over the weekend. that was a failure to me.
Why did you miss?
I didn't feel like going.
Wow. Motivation, right?
Yeah.
It's a lack of motivation.
Yeah.
So how are you gonna learn from that?
I have on my whiteboard, if you're tired, go tired. You gotta stick with it, and just like life, that roller coaster of you're really good and then you go down into the trenches and you come back up again. This year I'm really trying to push myself and stick with it.
Yeah. Belinda,
Recently I feel as, staying away from junk food. It's so hard.
right? How about sugar?
And sugar, like, it, to me, it's very serious because I can say that I'm addicted to sugar. So that's like a really bad thing. So I'm trying to cut it. Like, I do eat healthy and I love every vegetable out there, just about, but I cannot cut that from. So I last week was really bad. I'm starting over this week.
There you go. You get every day is a new day, right? So you
Yeah.
can start over every day. You don't have to wait for the first of the year or anything along those lines. But the fact of the matter is that if we make a phone call, we'll just go back to real estate for a second here.
Yeah.
If we make a phone call and it doesn't go well, then we know not to do that again. That's the way we got to look at it instead of going, oh, this doesn't work. I went door knocking and the door knocking didn't go very well. Well, then don't do that again. How can I change it to make it better? What can I do to have a better experience or to provide a better experience? You know, we go on a listing appointment, we don't get it. Then we say, listings are hard. I don't want to deal with them. I like buyers better. Well, what happened? That's all you gotta do is go back and reanalyze it. I mean, the woman who invented Spanx, I think that she had like 17 different companies before, 17 different things before she invented that and took off of that. And I think that's the thing that they're talking a lot about in here, and they want you to look at that, and you hear it all over the place, right? A lot of the best things that we have in life came from somebody who said, you know what, I'm not stopping until I get it right.
I really love the story on that, Millionaire Real Estate where, talks about Sylvester Stallone's story.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, that was there.
sold his dog.
What?
Sold his dog, remember? Yeah, in that story, he actually had to sell his dog. He was so broke, he had to sell his dog. Yeah,
But he never gave in to their proposals, you know, and.
after they didn't want him to be the actor, yeah, they wanted somebody else to be the character and stuff like that. But he did buy his dog back, by the way.
Oh, okay. That was there, I forgot, I don't know, but I missed that. But, yeah, that was a really, very encouraging, very, motivating, story that.
Yeah, so, and that's the whole thing, is that you gotta stick to what you believe. Don't let anybody else tell you any different.
I do have to say that, I'm a little more prepared for, rejection. It's really nothing to do about it. I don't want too many rejections, but that needs to be done.
The last sentence there that Louis Pasteur had once shared was this: let me tell you, the secret that has led me to my goal is my strength lies solely in my tenacity. So you take the consistency along with the persistence or the tenacity, and that's where you'll win, right? This is where non-talented people or less talented people outperform talented people all the time. Because talented people are more entrepreneurial, they just rely on what they've got. Whereas the less talented people are consistent and persistent. And that's what leads them to success. So he's got some affirmations there at the bottom of 63. A long time ago, someone taught me to say, if it's to be, it's up to me. When I first heard it, I thought it was a great action affirmation. However, over the years, I've played with it a little bit and tried to center it more on a personal faith and simple action. For a while, I'd ask, if it's to be, why not me? But as I would say it to myself, I still felt there was still some doubt persistent in the message. Now I simply say, if it's to be, it will be me. We'd encourage you to adopt that as your personal affirmation. And then he says, faith leads to momentum. It's quite possible that the most important contributor to your ultimate success will be your ability to keep moving, to make progress, and learn as you go. And then he says, so jump out there and enter the real estate sales race with confidence. Remember, you can't get anywhere if you never start. So that's the big thing again. Kind of started that whole section with that, is that if you don't try it, you never know if you can do it. And so here, just jump in. One of the ones that's really affirmations that's really been resonating with me, and it's so simple. And a lot of times when people say it over and over again, it starts to evoke some great emotion, is I am good enough. You just start saying that over and over and over again. I am good enough. I am good enough. And for some reason, like I was getting emotional over that here just recently. Because sometimes I think we start to beat ourselves up too much. And that negative self-talk and things like that, or everything that's going on around us. And so you just have to remind yourself that you are good enough and that you do deserve this. Another one that I use, and I'm not afraid to say it, is I just sometimes when I'm on a walk, God loves me. He's got my back. All right, any questions on that series there on the myth understandings? So what action steps can you take?
Earn small rewards so you can get to the big game.
Yeah,
That's, that's Gen Xers. All you have to do is add some cursive news to it and you'll really be lost.
I'm a great person, that.
it's like a doctor.
Yes.
I used to tell people all the time, I'm like, well, one day I might be a doctor, so I'm going to get my signature and writing correct. My wife can read, she don't have fun.
My big one out of this one is always focus on the activity. Reward the activity. Because too many times we're looking at closings or how much money we made. And even though we've been doing the right things, sometimes they don't break free. And so then we give up on doing the right things. We try to change it. And in all reality, we just need to stay the course. So if you say that you're gonna go knock on 50 doors, you knock on 50 doors, reward yourself. You say that you're gonna talk to 20 people in a day and you talk to 20 people, reward yourself. Pat yourself on the back. May not have resulted in a piece of business, but you did what you said you were gonna do and you accomplished that goal. The business will come. Tim, you've been in business a long time. We all go through dry streaks, right?
Yeah, sooner or later, it's bound to happen.
Because you just gotta just do Yep, go back to the basics, right? As they say.
Always, anytime, that's what I do is whenever I hit a dry streak, I always just evaluate, okay, what am I not doing that I used to do? Just reevaluate everything. And as you go through it, you'll see, oh yeah, I stopped doing this, I stopped doing that.
Yeah, I stopped sending out thank you cards, or I stopped sending out this, or I'm not calling people.
Not following up is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So.
All right, anything else?
Missed this class over the last few months, man.